Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for another iTWire video with top Australian IT executives. I have with me Leo Zaitsev. He's an expert online retail sales sharpshooter and Director of Commercial Operations at Klika. And currently, Klika is in the top 20 online retail department stores in Australia. Welcome, Leo, to the program.
Thanks for the opportunity, Alex. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Now, please tell us a little bit about Klika, the company. Most people probably haven't heard of it as yet, although they're hearing about it now, and we've covered it recently on iTWire, and about your role as Operations Director, and a little bit of your brief history in the retail and online space.
Well, Klika's actually been around for the last 10 years. It's Australian-owned, Australian-managed company based out of Melbourne. We have a 15,000 square metre warehouse, and we employ about 30 people in Melbourne. We also have warehousing and people on the ground and staff and employees in China. And we also have agents and employees in America as well, which really allows us to dynamically design, develop and bring in a lot of our products. And also shortens that cycle from designing from a conceptual perspective of the product and bring it in potentially within 3 to 4 months time frame.
Did Klika have a different name in the past?
Yeah, Klika was previously named as Kmart. And we rebranded it approximately about 9 years ago.
I just haven't heard of it in that time, but I'm glad to be hearing about it now. But what is Klika? Where did the name come from?
So that was actually a variation or play on words by the founding directors, the 3 directors that started the business approximately 10 years ago. It was really a play on words, the click and click away types of initiative where customers can come in at a click of a mouse. They can purchase a product and have it delivered to their doorstep.
Whatever you want is just to click away.
Correct. Just click away and shop away as well.
Right. Oh, well, there you go. That works. So you've been in the position now for the past few months. What has growth been like since you've been there? And what are your ambitions for the company going forward?
So look, historically, I was one of those kids that was interested in entrepreneurial things. Always business minded. Going back to my background in Russia, I was probably one of the kids that would have had a lemonade stand set up at the age of 3, but they probably would have shot me for it. Stealing from the state.
Soviet Union, yeah.
Correct. But I was always the kid that picked the business studies subjects at school and also during my commerce and law degree at uni. I was always thinking there's a little bit more to life than just the studies. I was always interested in business.
Sure.
So I started an online business when I was still at uni, which sort of expanded into a couple of websites. I've employed a few people.
And this was back in Russia still?
No, this was in Melbourne.
Yep.
In Melbourne when I went into Monash University. And I also employed a couple of people, and I had multiple stores, a little kiosk set up at the various markets, at the various computer swap meets. And that worked well, and I really enjoyed it. And then when I was working as a lawyer later on, I saw the potential in the online business. I saw the growth. When the online sales started overtaking my brick and mortar sales, sales from the people that were working for me. And I thought, well, there's a massive opportunity here.
Yeah.
And so I left, sort of hung my legal shoes. And I went into full-time, and I ran a couple of online businesses full-time, and that expanded into importing products from overseas, and then subsequent to that I also established a number of relationships with some of the local distributors, where I could distribute some of their end-of-life products, clearance, refurbished type products, and that did quite well for me for about 3 years, and thereafter I got a little bit bored, and I decided to go into banking, and I spent 7 years in banking with various financial institutions based out of Melbourne. I did that in the frontline management type roles. And then early in the year, Klika made me a deal that was hard to refuse to come on board and drive the business, and a fresh set of eyes. And I haven't looked back, and I love every single day of it. To answer the second part of your question in terms of the growth of the business that I envisage, we've expanded quite aggressively since I've joined the business. We now deal a lot with the domestically sourced product lines and quite a few brand names, such as Belkin, Uniden. We've also expanded quite quickly into new categories, such as the kids and the infant type products. We've increased our product range to 2,000 SKUs that are actually warehoused with us in Melbourne.
Yeah, and just for those who are wondering, a SKU is a stock control unit, which means the individual items.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do it quite well, and we can always do it better.
So what are the sort of other products that you sell in the range? I mean, department store means pretty much everything.
Correct. So the way the business was started initially, we focused on the house brands and the private labels, of which we have approximately 11 now. So we're quite strong in the power tool range, for example, with our Yukon brand. We're also quite active in the fitness equipment area, with our powertrain brand.
And these are mainly or only sold at Klika.com.au, or are some of these in other retail stores?
Correct. So we distribute those products to our website, which is Klika.com.au. We also have a very strong relationship with eBay, where we've been trading for the last 10 years since the inception of the business. We have multiple stores on eBay which focus on particular categories or demographics. So we'll have a particular store that focuses on the fitness equipment. We'll also have a separate store that focuses on the kids and the infant range.
And have all these sales been mainly in Australia or globally?
Great. So the majority of our sales originate to Australian domicile customers. However, in addition to that, given our
the fact you're an online business.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no borders and physical borders. There's no restriction to where we can do business. So over the years, we have exported our products overseas, rebadged them under different brands, and also sold as a Yukon brand, for example, in America.
Yeah.
And that has worked well for us. But our main focus is the Australian marketplace.
So do you have any overseas stores, or have all those overseas orders been coming from the Australian or eBay properties?
From the eBay properties, but we're also now currently having discussions with 3 other parties in other geographies who have fairly strong footholds in those countries, to look to mirror our business
operations,
and our operations. And also in addition to that, we've got the know-how. We've been doing it
for a decade,
right?
Yeah.
And there's
the relationships and
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And also, I guess the other thing to be mindful of in Australia, there's obviously a restriction in terms of populations, and it's much greater economies of scale in some of the other geographies. And I see that being as the next progression in terms of our business going forward.
Now, you do sell brands that people know, but you also have, as you were saying, 11 house brands.
Correct.
So what are the trials and tribulations of setting those up? I mean, it's probably a dream for some people to have their own brand, whereas other people only want to buy the known brands. But it's such blurring nowadays that there's not much differentiation anymore. People just come to know, house brands have become as popular as the well-known brands.
Correct. So it was really a strategic decision by the directors to set up the business initially with a view of selling house brands. And that was a point of differentiation between us and some of the more generic products coming out from overseas.
Sure.
I love creating new brands. And since I've joined the business, we've launched 3 new brands to 3 new categories. And the great advantage there is that it's almost becoming like a creative masterpiece. So you start from a concept of a particular product, a particular brand. You conceptualize what the product will look like, what the brand will look like. You obviously go through quite rigorous, or we've gone through quite rigorous testing.
Sure, yeah.
So we ensure that the product stands up to the rigor of Australian, usage.
Yep. All those blokes out there smashing things to pieces.
Correct. Throwing the kitchen appliances on the floor when their dinner doesn't come out the way they expected.
Yeah.
But the
I was just thinking that Hulk must be Australian.
Exactly right. But also the huge advantage of it from a personal rewarding perspective is that the cycle of bringing out the product from concept to actual delivery in our stores in Australia is really a window of about 3 to 3.5 months, which means we move very, very quickly. But our advantage is the fact that we have people on the ground overseas, which allows us to market, design, test the product, and have it here in 3.5 4 months' time.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be 18 months, the typical product cycle. And now, of course, we have new smartphones, new devices coming out every year. So the quicker you can do this while still maintaining quality is key to staying ahead of the competition.
Correct. And we've been doing it quite well. Now, in addition to those house brands, we've obviously expanded our product offering because we know what the customers are looking for, and we're seeing the trends in the online space.
Sure.
And that's why we've expanded into domestically sourced product lines and globally known brand names, which I mentioned earlier as well. And that's working quite well for us.
Sure. Now, currently your customer service and call centres are based in Australia, but a number of your competitors have shifted offshore. What do you plan to do there?
Well, that is something that we've discussed and thought about quite openly with the rest of the directors. And we know from the feedback from our customers that they really appreciate it, and they like the fact that they can pick up the phone or via live chat or an email and speak to someone who understands the nuances of the Australian marketplace, that speaks their language literally and metaphorically as well. And we made a decision to keep all our operations in-house. So our call centre, in addition to our techs, are all housed in Melbourne, South Oakland, where we're situated. And we're seeing that our customers really prefer that, and it gives us really great traction.
I presume it costs a bit more, but it it makes you more money in the back end because people are more satisfied and they'll buy from you again.
That's right. So from an expense perspective, obviously we could offshore it, and we've considered that, and it would be significantly cheaper. But looking at it from a long-term perspective as an investment into our brand, into our business, it certainly makes sense to do it in Australia, even though we pay for a little bit more.
Yeah. Plus, as one of the management, you get to interact with these people on a personal level. They're right there, presumably in your headquarters, and you can, or close by. I don't know where they are, but it's much easier to interact with them rather than faceless people in some call center in wherever.
Exactly right, and it means that we can reactively act on particular trends.
Proactively as well.
And proactively as well, quite correctly. Because we know what the feedback that our customers are giving to our customer service centre or our technicians, and then we can take the measures to improve that customer experience, and that's working quite well for us.
Sure, and you see a lot of these brick and mortar stores introducing click and collect services or stores. I mean, online properties are doing it as well, where you can do click and collect. What's Klika doing in this area?
Well, we've actually been offering click and collect services for the last 7 years. And that has been a real growth area for our business.
And that's been in Melbourne?
Correct, in Melbourne, in addition to also offering those type of services via eBay, through the eBay platform to Sydney and other cities.
And that would be through into like Woolworths stores where they have those click and collect eBay collaboration pods or whatever it is.
Correct. So that's offered through the Big W in the Woolworths stores.
Yeah. Which is not a direct deal with Klika. It's just the fact that eBay is doing that as a deal with Woolworths, and you sell via eBay.
That's right, and we've seen a huge uptake from our customers in relation to that.
Yeah,
we've also recently improved and invested quite a bit of money into our showroom, which is approximately 500 square meters.
Yeah, and what's the address? Just you may as well tell us.
So the address is 76 to 80 Carroll Road, South Oakley in Melbourne. We, as far as I know, we're the second largest business in that area.
And the address would be on klika.com.au for anyone who didn't hear it precisely. Because I haven't got the spelling of that suburb, but it's on your website.
Correct.
And so what's in that showroom? I mean, just a cross-selection of all your products?
Exactly right. So we have a cross-section of most of our equipment, most of our products, and we feel that customers really appreciate being able to come into the store. It makes it a little bit more tangible, they can play with it, they can test it for themselves.
Yeah.
And the other initiative that we introduced since I've joined the business is actually we're open 6 days a week to accommodate those customers that are maybe busy during the
weekend. Yeah,
want to come in on Saturday and pick up the product.
And there must be people who come in to have a look and then buy it on the spot.
Exactly right. So we have quite a few of those impulse purchases. And to put in perspective, around Christmas time of last year, we had a queue of people lining up outside our warehouse. Exactly right, to the point where we had to redirect them to the back of the warehouse, and hire extra people to be able to accommodate that flow of business.
Just top sort of question, without notice. What are some of the electronic things that you're selling? To do with smartphones and tablets and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we recently introduced and we've cemented our relationship with the likes of groups like Belkin, Uniden, VTech as well, and they're really at the forefront of technology.
Yeah. Well, Belkin does all the routers and iPhone accessories, all sorts of things.
Correct. And so we're looking to expand into that area. We've also done a lot of the Wi-Fi connectivity via Belkin. Yeah. We've had quite a bit of success with the Uniden phones as well as VTech.
And VTech does a lot of educational stuff for kids.
Correct. And we've expanded to that area as well. So we now carry approximately 70 to 80 early learning development type products. Yeah. From a number of brands. We carry a lot of Disney licensed products as well.
Okay, yeah. Would be popular with parents.
Correct.
Maybe Frozen must have been going nuts.
Frozen was unfrozen. It was absolutely hot. It was a very hot selling product for us.
And must still be.
And it certainly is. And we can see that people are coming into our website, and they're purchasing these products, and they're also purchasing multiple products to suit the entire family demographic. And I guess that is the goal for Klika, to become an online one-stop destination kind of store.
Any moves, or have you made any moves to have a home brand electronics division?
We've recently expanded into kitchen appliances with our house brand, and we're also looking to expand, which is a Pronto brand, which is our own house brand, and we're also looking to expand into electronic appliances as well.
Sure.
So we have actual people on the ground in China and America now.
Trying to source that stuff. Yeah. I mean, one of the other well-known competitors would be Kogan, and he's moved from the beginning to doing house brands. So it's worked for him. No doubt it would work for you too.
I have no doubts about that, Alex.
Sure. So now I always like to change gears for a moment when we get towards the end of the interview, and it's a question inspired by Ashton Kutcher when he came to Australia earlier this year, and he always liked to have this question and to ask this question, and it simply was, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received that's helped you to get you where you are today?
That's a very interesting and challenging question.
Well, it shares some humanity as opposed to just this whole thing being more of marketing. Yes, in a sense.
I think the sort of the example that comes to mind was when I was transitioning from my legal career into the online business that I started.
And in fact, I was going to say, I'm glad you went into online business rather than transitioning into politics, which a lot of legal people seem to like to do.
I think I saw the sort of the light at the end of the tunnel.
The no light at the end of the tunnel in politics.
Well, exactly right. So I moved away from the darkness to the light.
Yeah, no, good
no disrespect to our great politicians doing a fantastic job. But the sort of advice that comes to mind is when I was transitioning from the legal career into the business world, into running online businesses, and there was a particular supplier that I was courting probably for about a period of 6 to 9 months who.
It was playing hard to get, weren't they?
It was playing a bit hard to get. I felt like I was courting a potential girlfriend.
Yeah.
And so he was quite adamant that he wouldn't supply me the products, and I kept on approaching him for on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And his excuse not to supply me was because he was already supplying a competitor.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to mention the name of the competitor because he's actually an owner of a well-known, one of the largest online businesses in the country now.
Sure.
And then in about 6 or 9 months after my quite a bit of persistence, he opened up and he gave me an access to his products, and I asked the question. I said,
why?
What's changed? Why?
Yeah,
What have I done? Obviously, I've done something right.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what, Leo? It's your persistence. So notwithstanding the fact that I continuously sort of knocked you back and you didn't get discouraged, and if you continue being as persistent as you are now, undoubtedly you will succeed. And that was 11 years ago, and that's still my motto.
Yeah.
Persistence, and I think in relationships, I think are the most critical things, whether it's a business type environment or whether it's a career that you're looking at, whether it's with your staff, your suppliers, the media, for example.
Sure.
I think relationships and persistence are paramount.
Yeah.
And that's certainly something that I follow religiously.
And it has produced results.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so now then I like to pivot back into the business side of things and look into the future. Where do you think e-tail and online retail is going to evolve into the future? Obviously, shopping from smartphone apps is becoming ever more commonplace. I mean, people were doing it on computers for a long time, but then we have all these headsets coming, and who knows what's coming in the next 5 to 10 years. But what are your thoughts on what that might look like over that kind of time frame?
Well, look, undeniably, mobile commerce is a big thing, and Klika has invested quite significantly into making our website quite mobile friendly, very mobile friendly. In addition to our eBay stores and the templates that we use. Looking statistically at what's happening in China and India, for example, I know that 70% of smartphone users in China are shopping online.
Well, it's probably for a lot of them, it's their only computer.
Exactly right, and then it's the advantage of being able to do it on the go. So whereas if we were to compare it to historical data, whereby they were shopping, well, they were not even transacting, they were more doing shopping research on their phones. A lot of these people are now actually transacting via their phones. And anyone who discounts that idea, whether it's via apps or mobile-friendly type websites, I think it would be very, very silly for them not to consider that as a serious source of revenue.
Sure.
And I understand that India is doubling its growth of smartphone users and shoppers online, and they expect it to overtake China in the next couple of years. So that's going to be a big thing, or it really is already a big thing. In terms of virtual reality and 3D shopping,
I mean that's been something that's been spoken about for a decade or two.
Correct.
People talking about that sort of thing, and that's before we had sort of headsets and
Absolutely right. And there's obviously talk about Oculus Rift,
and the
coming
Samsung
out
headsets.
next year, the headsets. And I think my view is once it becomes a little bit more less price prohibitive, and more available to the masses, I think that's definitely going to be an interesting shopping avenue.
Sure.
Look, we know that statistically the brick and mortars are struggling now, and they're playing a bit of catch up online with their online strategies. Once again, statistically, I think the March data suggests that there's been a retraction in the consumer spending in the brick and mortar space, and so they really are investing heavily now into the online retail, and there's some of their concept stores that they're working on. Also the click and collect initiatives that the likes of a lot of the chains, Australian chains are introducing.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be an interesting playing field. Also, I'm mindful, I think Amazon is coming to the Australian marketplace.
They're supposed to have been coming for the past 5 years, but eventually they'll get here.
Correct. Well, my understanding is that they're looking to enter the market sometime next year.
Yeah.
And so
and that's with local warehouses and stuff like that.
Local warehouses.
Because anybody can already buy from Amazon if they'll ship that particular product to Australia, or you've got to use a drop shipper of some sort.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting how that disrupts the marketplace, because that's going to be quite a big player. And look, the way Klika focuses as business, we try to keep close, and we do keep close to our consumers and also our competitors, obviously, as well.
And your suppliers.
And our suppliers. And the media, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And so our initiatives so far have been to listen to what the trends are, to what our consumers are saying to us, and implementing in a very, very fast and approachable way. And that's how we've been able to stay away from and stay ahead of our competitors.
Yeah.
And we're looking to drive those initiatives quite aggressively as well.
So before we close, do you have any final messages for iTWire viewers and readers, and for your current and potential future customers?
Well, to the IT viewers, and iTWire viewers and readers, my parting message probably would be, I think from memory you published an article about us approximately 6 months ago, which was called Klika Frenzy is Coming.
Yeah.
And in that article, right, Alex, you mentioned that Kogan doesn't really have too much to worry about at this point in time.
Yeah.
And so my parting comment is, well, ladies and gentlemen, watch that space, watch our space, because we're coming.
All right.
Your way.
Well, I wish you the best of success, and thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.